ready now. When the storm rolling and your spirit low, heart feel heavy and you moving slow, tears on your face but you hide.
Hi, I'm Barbara Parker, and we're here with Powerfully Broken, where we are here to build your strengths and not your weaknesses. I have the lovely Miriam White, who is a nurse, qualified behavioral health specialist, mother, and model, to help us with learning more about how mental health impacts her life and has helped her to be on this course of being a nurse, as well as in her relationships, how that has all played a role in keeping her health, her mind and her body healthy. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So Miriam, tell me a little bit about, previously when you were on the show, you talked about your issues with being in a relationship that was not healthy for you. So you said that some of the things that went into that was how you were raised and wanting to please your family and being very collectivistic and
Right.
and how you were raised. Like it's about the family more so than you.
Exactly.
So at what point did that shift for you where it was not you have to do everything to please them, but that you learned you had to put you first to save yourself?
So that's a good question. So from the time that I was smaller, when as I was growing up, it's always been I had to be the one to take care of family members. So if anybody got sick, if anybody, my mother was a nurturer, so of course naturally I'm gonna be the nurturer. I was the oldest child, first grandchild. I think I was in my 30s when I woke up. Like I said, I had my son late. So I had him when I was 29 years old. And I would say the day that my son turned a year old, so I was 30, and I just said that I could not please anybody but myself at that point. It was an eye-opener just because, you got this little person that's dependent on you, and then you're trying to people please everybody else, and it doesn't flow the right way. Because if I'm a people pleaser over here and I'm trying to raise a child, there's something that has to at some point say, okay, look, this is where my focus is. I'm trying to raise a good child. It's a boy. I'm probably going to be doing this by myself because, like I said, I did not even leave his dad until he was a year old. So the day he turned a year old, weaned off of me because I breastfed, weaned off of me. I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm out. So that was when I woke up and I said, I don't care what my mother says. My father was already gone at that time. And I think losing my father too made me kind of wake up a little bit, but it was definitely my son and having to raise him.
So for me, when my grandmother died, the way she died so suddenly. Even though she was in her 70s, it caught me off guard, and it taught me that life is temporary.
Exactly.
And that no day is promised, and you have to capitalize on that day. Is that kind of what you experienced when your dad passed, to say, hey, I can't waste any more time on other people's wants and needs. I need to be feeding myself?
So the timing is the way that it actually is, like I said, I was in this relationship with this guy. He came home one day and was like, hey, we need to move out of Cleveland. And I was like, as long as we're by a family member. So I went to my father. My father, every time he saw me, without saying that he did not agree with the relationship that I was in, like he didn't like it for me, he just always just came over. He would slide me some money because I was a stay-at-home, housewife, basically. He would slide me some money. He, just made sure that he constantly checked on me. My father actually passed away before I found out that I was pregnant with my son. So my dad passed away in June, and I didn't find out I was pregnant until like September, October. So there was no, it wasn't that he passed away. It was all of the stuff that he was saying to me. He was like, don't be like your mom. You're starting to act like your mom, which drove me nuts because I'm a daddy's girl,
Right.
So it's like, what? Stop saying I sound like my mom. I was like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm trying to be like my daddy.
Right.
Like, stop it. So it was stuff like that he planted the seed. And then when I found that I was pregnant, like I said, in my particular relationship, it was fun until it wasn't. So that was the moment that I found that I was pregnant. It was like, this is no longer fun anymore, because now I got a responsibility. So now what am I going to do? He planted the seed and it started growing up. By the time my son was a year old, it was like, okay, that's it. I don't care about my mom. I don't care about none of this stuff that she said. She was always like, you sure you can't work stuff out? And it literally clicked to her when I moved out the house. He had an apartment that was like paid up for like 6 months that he put me in, and he was there like all the time. And I called my mother one day and I was like, Mom, I don't have anything to lose except for my son, but I'm going to slit this man's throat if he does not stop coming over my house. And that is what made her say, okay, she really wants to get out of this and I'm going to go get her. So she, of course, called him and let him know. She was like, I got to come and get her because like literally she's about to like flip out. You keep on coming over there. She trying to leave you alone. It's not going to be a good thing. So I packed my stuff up and then he actually helped me with the stuff, like get everything together and stuff like that. And like I said, now I call him my best friend, but he would to this day say, I'm not your friend. So, but
So that is always a hard place to be in. And I've been in it myself where you're like, I'm done with this relationship. It's not working. I cannot continue to put effort into this. And they decide, well, that's how you feel. And I'm just going to keep coming until I wear you down.
Exactly.
And we're going to be in this relationship because it's what I want. Even though I know I'm not doing the things to help you feel safe and loved in this relationship.
Right.
So when you are at that point of it's your freedom that you're about to give up, your life, your livelihood, your son, everything, like, how did you have the presence of mind to reach out and ask your mom for help?
Like I said, I have a close-knit family. So it was literally, I kept in touch with her and I just said, I knew that was my cry for help when I actually looked at him laying on my couch and I was like, if he come over here one more day, just one more day.
This episode is proudly sponsored by BF Empowerment Center, where healing isn't just possible, it's powerful. BF Empowerment Center helps individuals break barriers, build healthier relationships, and unlock their true potential for lasting transformation. Follow at Queen BL Parker or at BF Empowerment. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Powerfully Broken Podcast, airing every Friday at 9 a.m. Powerfully Broken empowers you to overcome unhealthy relationships that negatively impact your mental health.
Because like I said, the relationship that we had and me being a person that is an enabler, being with a narcissist, it was one of those things where he felt like he can come and go, as he please. So I left the house because he was never there. So it was like, why am I in this big house by myself? Like I want to leave and I wanted to move back to Cleveland. Like I said, at that point, I didn't have any foundation there. My father had passed away. And he used that opportunity and then I found out I was pregnant. So I was already at a state of kind of like a breakdown. And then I found out that I was pregnant. And then after I had my son, the postpartum, and then me, like my father's not here, he didn't even get to meet his first biological grandchild,
Yeah.
So, because he was the granddad to all the other kids. So it was, that postpartum actually broke me down even more, which is where he capitalized off of that. Because other than that, he, treated me like a queen. But the reason why he did that was to break me down to the point of, you're not going to leave me because I got this, that, and the other. When I was strong enough, I was like, I don't care about none of this stuff. And then, as I got into my depression, it was like, well, if I leave, then, I got this baby now and what am I going to do? And like I said, I just got to the point where I started reading books. That was my biggest thing. I read, so at the time that I had my son, and this would be dating, but it doesn't matter. But Kamora Lee Simmons had wrote her book. Okay. So it was like a couple of years old, but it was still, like something. And I honestly, that was my first book that I started to read. And reading that book actually empowered me to read more books about elevating myself basically and getting out of this slump. And I still have that book to this day.
What are 3 things you got, 3 lessons that you would like for people to know that you got from that book?
Which seems like it's shallow, but it's like basically, what image do you have for yourself? Like when you go out every day, what image are you portraying? So with me, it was, I got to the point where I was just like frumpy mom. I never had been, when I walked out, my hair was always done, my nails was always done, it was always something. After I had my son and I just got into that slump of, I'm miserable, it was, whatever I put on. I didn't even care. I started taking better care of myself. So it was like, basically, what's your uniform? Like her thing was like the white t-shirt and the jeans and the heels, and it was like, well, what's my uniform? So mine was like the off the shoulder shirt and like the tight jeans and the heels and stuff like that. So I started doing that. And then if I had to say something else, it was basically speaking up for myself, knowing I don't recall her saying anything about boundaries, but it was just like, you basically teach somebody how to treat you. And when you teach them how to treat you, you take your power back. And so that would be the next thing that I learned from just, from like reading that book. And then the last thing was, just to always be confident, even if you don't feel like you're confident. Like, somebody's always going to be smarter than you, prettier than you. That's just the way that the world is. But as long as you are true to yourself and your capabilities, you might look nice and it might get you in the room, but can you stay in a room? If someone asks you a question and it actually is thought-provoking, can you actually answer that question? Are you smart enough to stay in a room full of people that are smart, who just let you in just because you were something nice to look at, and that was like the biggest thing, because of course she was a model. So, so those were like the 3 takeaways from that.
So being a person of value and not just an object.
Exactly. And that most people don't understand that. And I realized that it's something that we lost along the way. And I want to blame social media, but at the same time, I can't blame social media, because at the time we had Facebook. I had not had Facebook until I was single again. So all through, my relationships and stuff like that, I had no social media. Instagram had just came out. I didn't even know how to work Instagram. So I'm single, I'm coming out there, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm a mom now, I have no idea where to even start. So it was basically, and that awkward, when you have a kid, for some reason you go from sexy to, I don't even know what sexy is anymore. It's like, even if you get your body snap back, you still go through this awkward stage,
because they had your body back, finally your lives.
Exactly. It's like exactly. So it's like, how do you get that back? So it was literally like I was building my confidence from being made fun of in the 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? You're getting your womanly body and all the boys are making fun of you, and then you blossom out of that, and then you have a baby, and then you're back to 8th grade again. You gotta blossom back out of that. So yeah. Some people will say, if I go back in time, I would change this, that, or the other. And with everything that I had been through in my life, I would not change anything, because it literally brought me to where I am now. So if I had to say anything to my younger self, it would be probably that no matter what, to continue to love yourself, because there are moments within that time that I allowed what men said about me to actually shape the way that I looked at myself. And that is the biggest thing, I guess, if I've regretted anything from growing up, it is like allowing a man to say something to me that caused me to question who I am and myself. And with that questioning, do questionable things that I would not be proud of. So that's like the biggest thing, I think, if I had to say anything to my younger self.
That's awesome. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and honest and open about like struggling with mental health because of this relationship that you couldn't untangle yourself from. And you went through your journey of dealing with being a mom and trying to regain your confidence as you are an emerging new single adult in your 30s. It's not an easy journey. So I appreciate you talking about all the different struggles. And in addition to that, you know, I always talk about, you know, with Powerfully Broken, you're not broken, but you're broken to unleash the power within.
Exactly.
And you learn so many things because of that relationship. It now has made you into a much better, healthier person.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
I want to thank you all for joining us today, and have a wonderful life and be awesome.
This segment of the Powerfully Broken podcast is brought to you by A Powerful Divorce, the book by Barbara L. Parker. It's not just about endings. It's about rediscovering who you are, reclaiming your peace, and rising stronger than ever. Because you're not just surviving, you're becoming. And that's powerful. Follow at Queen BL Parker or at BF Empowerment. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to Powerfully Broken Podcast. Now back to our program.
Powerfully broken but never defeated.